Nearly 1 in every 7 home sales fell apart last month. And if you're buying or selling in Northeast Ohio, this absolutely needs to be on your radar. So let's discuss why these deals are falling apart to make sure that yours doesn't. What's up, guys? Anthony Esposito with eXp Realty, your local expert right here in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And I work with buyers and sellers every single week in Northeast Ohio. And my job is to protect your deal from start to finish. If you are planning on purchasing or selling a house this year, I want to make sure you're in good hands. You can contact me directly here or go in the description below. Use one of the links that I have listed there. So let's find out exactly why these deals are falling apart and how to protect yours. So according to a brand new report from Redfin, 14.9% of all pending sales throughout the US have fallen through last month. But here's the real kicker. In the Cleveland area, we're actually at 16.4% have fallen through. And it really begs the question of what is going on? Because that's about 1 in every 6 to 7 home sales. So what I'm seeing right now in Northeast Ohio is a few different reasons of why these are happening. I'm seeing deals blowing up because of home inspections, because of the appraisal, and because of sudden rate changes that fluctuate every single day. And recently I had buyers that backed out of a deal simply because there was a mice infestation, which rightfully so. A lot of people don't want to deal with that. That is a big, big deal. But there's also sellers who aren't budging on the price. They're not wanting to help fix anything. And then you have lenders. I'm hearing are ghosting people halfway through underwriting, or they're difficult to get a hold of. So it's just making the consumer, the buyer, upset, angry, not knowing what is going on. And these aren't like one-offs anymore. It's becoming more of a trend with all three of these things kind of combining and happening. So let's talk about these 3 big reasons of why these deals are collapsing, and let's go through of how you can prevent them, because that's the ultimate goal. So, like I was saying, the financial aspect, these are falling apart. Why are they falling apart? There's some buyers that are getting pre-qualified, not pre-approved. That's a complete difference. Pre-approved, you're getting your credit ran, and that's where it's falling apart, because then you're getting pre-qualified and you think you have your budget in place. All of a sudden, you get your credit pulled. They find out your debt to income ratio, and it's either A, it's not the budget that you expected, so you just completely are done and out of the market. Or B, I'm even seeing it to where you can't even get approved and get that pre-approval, and you are out of the market until you adjust something, your credit, your debt to income. And the debt is a big issue right now, and not just in the Cleveland area, but nationally. There's a lot of people that are in a lot of debt. It's very unaffordable to live right now. It's the most unaffordable time in our nation's history. So a quick tip on how you could prevent that. When you get that pre-approval, go even further. Get the underwriting done and over with. Get that conforming loan, because then you are set. You're ready to go. It is guaranteed you are going to be approved for that specific amount. And then, of course, we have the appraisal gaps that are coming in. Look, all across the nation, home prices, they're starting to come down. Some areas are much more worse than others. Here in Cleveland, we're slightly coming down, but we're kind of holding strong in a sense. But prices have definitely dropped, and the price reductions on the homes are dictating that. The market's showing it. So we still have sellers that are trying to push the envelope a little too much, which is, that's up to them. If they want to do that, it's ultimately up to the seller. But what's happening is these appraisers are coming through, and they are saying it is worth less than the agreed amount on the contract. So then what happens? Well, there's one of 2 things that could happen. The first, the buyer can end up covering that appraisal gap if they so desire. I personally do not suggest that because you're purchasing negative equity. The second is, and this is because of a mortgage. Appraisals are coming through on mortgages. The second is simply because the buyer is not going to cover that gap and the seller is not about to take less. Here's the problem with that though. By law in the state of Ohio, if a house goes back on market, I'm a buyer's agent. I asked that listing agent, why did it go back on market? They have to disclose the reason. And if the reason it went back on market was because the appraisal came under, the buyer isn't going to want to give you the amount that was offered in. So in my experience with sellers, obviously I educate them on that. First and foremost, whenever there's a mortgage, so they're prepared for it. And that's key right there, is preparing you as buyers and sellers for every single outcome that could possibly come up. 99% of the time, because I don't guarantee anything, but 99% of the time, the sellers are going to come down to that appraised amount. However, we are seeing deals fall through because sellers don't want to take less amount. So as a buyer, what you can do is you could understand the comps. Plain and simple, have your agent comp them. I comp every single property before putting in an offer as a buyer's agent. So then my buyers, my clients have that knowledge, that education for where the property is roughly sitting at for market value. As a seller, you need to price this with the market and price it right. And sometimes pricing it right actually means coming slightly below market value with the comps. Now with these home inspections, this is the biggest reason of why deals are falling through. And it's why most deals are going to fall through. But right now, even minor issues are scaring buyers away, like cracked windows or, old appliances, old, furnace, hot water tank, you name it. A lot of this stuff can be remedied, but we cannot fix the situation if the anxiety ends up increasing. You aren't, properly told what the expectations are, like what to expect with the home inspections. You don't have that knowledge going into the home inspection. You're not being told, hey, this could happen, this could happen. All these different things are possibly there. Don't panic. We can look to get it fixed. Now, certain things like a mice infestation that I talked about earlier, that could take a long time for that to get handled. So that's a completely different situation. But a lot of other stuff can be resolved. And if it's anything like, HVAC system, that's always a big one. You could always ask the seller for a home warranty. Single family homes, for the basic home warranty, is $500. And what it could be is, hey, the furnace is dated, but it's still working. Well, within that time frame, if it goes bad, the majority of a brand new furnace is going to be covered. You're going to have a deductible, but you're not going to pay that huge amount. That could be anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000, depending on the furnace that you need. Now, when rates are high like this, in the sixes, it's always going to keep you on edge. So the best thing that you can do as a buyer is you want to focus on the big picture. Don't worry about the cosmetic stuff. Most likely you're going to paint the house how you want to paint it. Flooring, whether it's carpet or if it's luxury vinyl plank, it's relatively inexpensive. Kitchens, they don't cost as much as you would think. You could easily spend $5,000, and I know that that's still a lot of money, but you could easily spend $5,000 and do a pretty nice job renovating a kitchen. And some of the kitchens that are smaller, you can completely gut the thing and correct it. Now, I get it. Some of you may not want to do that. Understandable. But You cannot just look at like the first, minor issue or the first issue that pops up on the home inspection and, have that anxiety level just spike and start freaking out. You need to just take a breather, slow down. You got time. There's a time frame that you have to respond back after the home inspection. So don't fly off the deep end right away. Really consider, run the numbers, because if you fall in love with a house, you want to make sure you're doing the right decision that is best for you. Now, as a seller, one way that you can keep out of the issue is just doing a pre-listing inspection, home inspection on the house. It's a few $100s, and you could at least find out exactly what's going to show up and be prepared for it, and either fix it ahead of the game, or at least you have an idea of what is about to come out instead of having like a shock and awe moment, especially if there's something like mold in the house. Now, just keep in mind that this is not a crash. This is just a confidence issue. And the more prepared you are, the less likely the deals are going to fall apart, both buyers and sellers. But it's not a market crash. And for buyers, a few different things that you could end up doing ahead of the game. First, lock in your mortgage rates. Get those ready to go. Second, work with a local lender. Don't get somebody who's out on the West Coast and we're over here on the East Coast. Don't get a lender who's working banker hours and you can't get a hold of them. Make sure they're local. Make sure they have a great reputation. Make sure they are going to, answer you in a timely manner. And get fully underwritten. Have that conforming loan. Do not just sit on a pre-qualify. That means nothing in the realm of real estate. But get it fully underwritten, ready to go, so then you are guaranteed, hey, you are going to get this mortgage. And then also budget for repairs. Budget for, any cosmetic issues that you want to address. Have that money set aside, ready to go. And if you don't, it's okay. Then you just need to play it a little bit smarter with the home purchase that you're going to do. Obviously, you're going to be looking for something that's more move-in ready, but still have money set aside for paint, because just about everybody I know ends up painting their house. Now, for you sellers that are out there, a few different things that you can do to get ahead of the game and make sure that your deal doesn't fall through. As I just stated before, get that pre-inspection prior to listing. Know what is going on with the house. Know the red flags that are on there. Any major issues, more than likely, a buyer's going to ask you to fix it. Now, if you don't have the money, there is a way that we could put your money from the net proceeds into an escrow account with estimated cost, where then the buyer ends up, still being able to correct the issues after it closes, and then any money that's left over comes back to you as a seller. So if you don't have the cash in hand, there is that option. And then you want to price to attract offers. This is not a market to where you could push that envelope. You will sit on the market, and it's going to take some time. And if you are not prepared, if you're not educated of what's about to happen, you're going to get disappointed, and you're going to be another statistic that is going to either withdraw your listing or it's going to end up expiring. If you want to push the envelope, but just be prepared. It's going to sit much longer. You're going to have less traffic, and there's a high probability in this market that we're in, you're going to end up having to do price reductions. You got to be flexible with your timelines and with negotiations. We are moving into that buyer's market. We're still slightly holding on to a seller's market, but still be prepared that there's going to be negotiations that are going to happen, and still be flexible with the timelines. Now, you want to give yourself, if you're like building a house, give yourself 2 months roughly right now, as long as you price it accordingly, to list your house and be able to time things up properly, because we are around, depending on where you're at, You know, it varies, but we are 30 plus days, average days on market is where we're sitting throughout, you know, Northeast Ohio, but some areas are less, some are a little bit more, but it also ultimately depends on where you price it at. And make sure you're working with an agent who can keep the deal together. Make sure you're working with an agent who is communicating with you. Communication is the number one reason that I hear people are upset with their previous agent that they had. So make sure they are going to communicate. Even if there's nothing to update you on, you should still be getting a phone call saying, I have no updates, but this is what is happening. This is what is going on. But let me know in the comments down below if you've dealt with any of this that I just went over. Or let me know if this helped you in any way to prepare for what's to come. Again, I'm working with buyers and sellers throughout Northeast Ohio, just like you. Every single week they're reaching out to me and they're asking me to help them out, give them some insight, and just, you know, be that resource, be that agent who is actually going to be there for them. If this is something that interests you, you can contact me directly here, or you could go in the description below, use one of the methods I have listed there. If you got any value from this video, be sure to smash the like button. It's greatly appreciated. And if you're new to my channel or you have yet to do it, please hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, because I got some great videos on tips, tricks, property tours that are coming your way, and you will not want to miss them.